Welcome to Hunter Highlights. I'm Toby Porcelain and this is Interviews with TP. He's already been coached by one of the best in the business, having spent the past 3 years playing with the Melbourne Storm. Now Robbie Rochow stands to be mentored by the greatest of all time, after signing a one-year deal with the Newcastle Knights. Robbie, thanks for joining me on Hunter Highlights. You have recently moved back home after a 3-year stint in Melbourne. What's it like to be home?
It's definitely different. It took me a little while to get used to. I'm only just getting settled in now, so it's going to be a massive change for me, but I'm definitely going to miss Melbourne, but I'm looking forward to the change of coming home and seeing family all the time and old schoolmates. Should be good fun.
Since moving south off the border, a lot has transpired in that period of time, from winning an under-20s title through to making your first grade debut. You must leave with some lasting memories.
Yeah, definitely. It was the best thing I ever did, I think, was leave and go to Melbourne for a few years. Football-wise, I've learned a lot, and the experiences I've had, I wouldn't change it for anything, mate. So definitely a great experience for me, and hopefully I can take what I've learnt from Melbourne and better myself here in Newcastle.
What's the one milestone or achievement that really stands out for you in your time at Melbourne?
I'd definitely be the under-20s premiership. That 2009 year was a year where my football improved probably more than any other year, and I had some pretty influential coaches that really helped my game a lot and changed my attitude towards things, and that's probably the thing that stood out most for me, is winning that premiership, because we worked hard that year and we had a good team, and I've met a lot of good people through that year, so that's definitely the thing that stands out so far for me in football-wise.
Despite Melbourne being the heartlands of AFL, the Storm have developed a real breeding ground reputation, if you like. What is it about the culture at the club that breeds success?
Yeah, everyone talks about the culture at Melbourne Storm, and it's just a good place to be around. There's a lot of good people there, and the head coach, Craig, is very honest and upfront, and I think everyone learns from that, and how hard he works kind of filters through the ranks, and everyone works just as hard, and when that happens, when everyone's working together, and I think that builds good culture, and everyone gets better a lot quicker when they're in that sort of environment.
You made your first grade debut in round 14 last year against the Sydney Roosters at age 19, which wasn't the greatest of result for you guys, but a pretty special occasion all the same.
Yeah, it wasn't the best result. We didn't start too well. I remember getting on the field, I think we were already a couple of tries down, and as soon as I got on, we were under the pump, and I was very nervous for that game, and I was definitely better afterwards for the experience, but it's definitely not a highlight in my career, but I was glad to get a start that year. I think I might have probably been a bit young and a bit nervous and whatnot, but my NRL game this year was a lot more solid, but I'm just trying to play more than one game a year this year, so hopefully I can get a run somewhere with Newcastle.
The NRL is considered one of the toughest leagues in the world in terms of speed and physicality. For us folk who only see it through the camera lens or in the grandstand, tell us what it's like firsthand.
Oh, it's definitely a shock to the system. Coming through the ranks under 20s is pretty fast, but it's not as physical, and you move up to reserve grade, it's very physical, and it's probably not as fast, and that's the main difference when I went to NRL, was the speed of the game, the speed of the play of the ball, and you know, even your forwards are very fast and very physical, and it's something that was definitely a shock for me, and you know, through time and experience, I think you get more used to it and you adapt, and I think through all the training you do, you get used to it, and it's definitely pretty tough, but yeah, it's okay at the end of the day once you do a good few pre-seasons.
Prior to moving to Melbourne, you were playing first grade for the Curry Bulldogs. How do you approach an NRL game as opposed to lacing up the boots for the Bulldogs?
It's definitely different in the change rooms before Curry Bulldogs run out. I was actually playing a completely different role for Curry. I was out in the centres. I was a little bit lighter, a little bit quicker probably. I've lost a bit of that speed, but definitely different. You're just a lot more focused and a lot more switched on, and you know, through the amount more training you do, you're more confident when you're running out to the field, I think, when you're running out with a NRL squad.
What sort of influence has Craig Bellamy had on you at the Storm?
He probably in my first year, first 2 years, he didn't have much to do with me. This year he had a lot more to do with me. I did a full pre-season, and that's where Craig really stands out, especially this year. He really wanted to stamp on his authority on all the new fellas and the young players in the squad that we had this year. And it was a really hard pre-season for me, and he basically initiated all of it. And he's such a hard worker, and you just listen to every word he says, and he's been really good for me this year. So hopefully I can take a bit of that working under our new coach next year.
The next chapter of your rugby league career begins next week with the Knights. After you signed a one-year deal in the middle of this year, you must be looking forward to the season ahead?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I've had 3 pre-seasons in Melbourne that have been pretty similar, and just a change here in Newcastle. I'm keen to get started. I'm curious to see what training is, so I just want to, you know, get out there and start with a new group of fellas, and hopefully I'm pretty sure it's going to be a hard pre-season, but hopefully the change is a bit refreshing for me, and I might spark a bit more interest and hopefully get a few games if I have a good pre-season.
The last time you donned the red and blue was back in your days of playing SG ball, but the club has been endeavouring to get you back for a while now, haven't they?
I was in contact with them after that 2009 year, so 2010 I was in contact with them, but I really wanted to stay in Melbourne for another year, and so I stayed. And then this year the opportunity really wasn't there for me to stay in Melbourne. I know they were trying to re-sign a few players and get a few of their forwards back, so there wasn't a spot for me in Melbourne for this year. And so when I was still in contact with the Knights, the opportunity came up, and I pretty much signed straight away, so that worked out well for me, I think.
Was there much interest from any other clubs?
Not before I signed with the Knights. I hadn't had the best year this year. I've trying to stay on the paddock as much as I can, but I had a fair few foot problems this year, ligament and whatnot, so I didn't play as many games as I would have hoped. And yeah, I didn't have a great deal of interest for me this year, mate, so I was glad to get a start here, and hopefully I can stay on the field this year and play a lot better footy.
From one great coach in Craig Bellamy to another in Wayne Bennett, how much of a part did the Bennett factor play when it came time to signing on the dotted line? Yeah,
definitely. To work under Wayne would be great. I've never personally met him, but just from what I've heard, and obviously his achievements, I'd love to work underneath him, and from what I've heard, he's similar to Craig. I know Craig learnt from him, so hopefully it's not too much different for me, but it'll be a good change, and I think I'll just have to wait and see once I meet him and start training how much he makes an influence on me, I guess.
What are your goals for next season?
I really want to just play an NRL game. Probably more than one, because the last 2 years I've played one each year, so I just want to get more than one. So if I get 2 games in 2012, I'll be more than happy.
There's not too many 21-year-olds, Robbie, who can lay claim to being coached by 2 of the best.
No, there isn't. So I'm being very lucky in that regards. Even my under-20s coach is probably not as big as names, but I'd say they've meant just as much to me as Craig. So yeah, I'm definitely grateful for the opportunities that have been put in front of me.
Since Nathan Tinkler has taken over the Knights, there's been a concerted effort on retaining and re-signing local talent. It sends a really good message not only to you, but also other up-and-coming players, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. Hopefully more juniors coming through the system, because it is a big rugby league area, rugby league town. There is a lot of talent coming out of here. Hopefully Newcastle can retain a lot of that, because I know when I was coming through the system, there wasn't a spot for me after I played SG ball, and so to move to Melbourne was definitely good for me. But to come back is, there's no bad blood between leaving the Newcastle Knights, so I'm more than happy to come back, and hopefully more juniors can feel the same, and the Knights can retain them and grow from there.
From someone who was born and raised in the area, what would it mean to you to represent your hometown at the top level?
Yeah, it'd mean a lot. I remember Dad used to take me a lot to the hill at Marathon Stadium back in the day for watching the Newcastle Knights, so it's been a while since that's happened, but I think to run out there, I think it would be a really good experience for me, and it would mean a lot to play for the team that I barracked for as a kid growing up.
Prior to moving to Melbourne, you were playing in the backs. Nowadays, you're lining up in the forwards. How did the transition come about?
The transition was, I was playing centres at Curry. I'm SG ball for the Knights. I moved down to Melbourne. I was still training that pre-season in the centres. Come round one, I got the tap on the shoulder from my coach. I'd put on probably, I don't know, I'd put 5 or 6 kilos by this time over the pre-season. And the coach gave me the tap on the shoulder, said, do you want to play half a game on the edge in the second row? I said, yeah, that's fine. And I enjoyed the change, and I played every game that year in the second row after that. So apart from that, it didn't change. And then this year I even played a bit in the middle. So yeah, it's been a downward spiral since the centres days, mate. But I think the putting on a bit of size has helped me play in the forwards, and I've enjoyed every bit of it.
Has there been a case of too much of the good life has come back to bite you on the backside?
No, I think it was just the start of doing just a proper weights program, I think, mate. But I definitely would have loved to have the good life side of it.
Now that you've had a taste of both backs and forwards, what is your preferred position?
Well, I played most of my footy in the second row, so probably preferred second row, but I don't mind getting in the middle a bit and getting a few more tackles and getting a bit more involved. But I think this year I'll train wherever. I'll just train a pre-season, and wherever they think I would fit best, I think that's where I'll play. I don't have too many preferences, to tell you the truth.
And outside of football, you're also doing some study. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, my first year in Melbourne, in under-20s, you have to do an alternative career. You can't just play football through the day. You have to do something different. And I started a Bachelor of Construction degree in Melbourne. I did that I've been doing that for 3 years now. I'm doing it by correspondence, by distance education. I'm doing it part-time. I'm slowly getting through it. I've done, I don't know, a bit over a year of the course, so it's something I want to keep doing and keep edging a bit out every year, so once I finish football I can finish it off full-time and I'll have something to fall back on.
From Curry first grade to Melbourne Storm and now the Knights, it's been a busy few years, Robbie.
Yeah, it has been busy. That couple of years at Curry treated me well. They really treated me well at Curry, and I got a few games for SG Ball probably because of that. And then as a result of that, I got a chance to go down to Melbourne, and that's meant all the difference in my career. That's why I've got this opportunity today, because I went to Melbourne to start with. So I'm very grateful for the opportunity that was put in front of me after playing for Curry and SG Ball to move to Melbourne. But now I'm looking forward to living at home around my family and friends and playing in my hometown.
You have got 1 week left before the pre-season starts. How do you intend on spending the time?
Very quiet week, to tell you the truth. I'm just trying to look after myself a bit, get all the last year's injuries out of the way and start fresh with a new club, and hopefully I can just stay on the field as much as possible. So I'll probably go for a few runs this week, try and get back into a bit of shape, and just get ready for next Monday, I guess.
Well, I'm sure once Bennett finds out that you live directly behind the Delaney, he'll have the removalists around there quick smart. Robbie, all the best for next season, and thanks for your time.
No worries, thanks Luke.